Good morning, everybody. And welcome back to the beginning of our new Dharma school. So this is like the big opening we have every year. I feel like this is opening day of baseball or hockey or football. And as we know, football started up recently, and I feel like that excited. So this is really special because when Dharma school begins, our children come back to the temple. And I want to tell all our Dharma school students that you are the most important part of this temple. Because of you, your parents bring you to the temple, and they come to be here with you to learn the Dharma and to also listen. So because you're here, you're bringing your parents and your family to the temple. So that's why our Dharma school is so important. And it's important for all temples. And I think having all these generations together here together really makes us a very special place. So welcome back. And I want to know of the Dharma school students here, how many of you had a really good summer? Seems like a long time since we've all been back. Yes. I think some people went on vacations. How many went to LABCC camp? Yeah, we had a really good showing at LABCC camp. And I had fun there for a couple days myself. And we've got a reunion coming up soon, so I'm excited about that. Okay, so today I decided I'm dedicating this Dharma talk to the Dharma school students. So it's going to be kind of Dharma school centered, but I hope that the parents and all the adults also get something out of this message. So you see the title, Jakata Tales, Why Birth Stories. So I'm going to answer some of the questions. First of all, I'll tell you what Jakata tales are and why they are called birth stories. And this all came about because over the summer, I think many of you know, but after Obon and before the start of the new Dharma school year, we have a gap in our summer. Usually it's about 5 or 6 weeks, and during that summer, we don't have regular services, but we have summer Dharma talks or Dharma classes. So we don't meet in the Hondo, but we go into the Kodo, and we have speakers, or we have some of the ministers who will give a talk, usually from about 10 to 11:30. This summer, we had really good attendance. Our Kodo was really full, and we had some very interesting talks that were given by ministers and ministers' assistants. But we also had a special guest speaker this year, and it was this person. So we had something special, something we don't ordinarily do. We had something called the Southern California District Tri-Temple Seminar. Sounds so important. But it was sponsored by Southern District Buddhist Education Center and the OCBC Buddhist Education Center. And it was over 2 Sundays, August the 3rd and the 10th. And we had this very nice young man, Dr. Thomas Calabrese. So if you can see what it says about him, it says that he has received his PhD in Religious Studies from the Graduate Theological Union in 2021, and that's up in the Berkeley area. And he is currently a research fellow at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, where he teaches Buddhist literature, history, and ethics. And so I don't know if you know or not, but I went to Institute of Buddhist Studies myself. I think I was one of the longest ever students. It took me forever to do a 2-year master's program. I think I was there 12 years. And I kept overlapping with a lot of people who came through IBS. I started with some, and they finished and graduated, and I was still there. But Dr. Calabrese was one of the people that I encountered while I was there. We overlapped sometimes. So I do know him pretty well. So I was really excited to have him come and talk to us on those 2 Sundays. So this is what he came to talk about. He titled his talks, Wisdom and Humor, a fresh look at the Jakatas. And so he came to inform us about what they are. I really didn't know much about the Jakata tales myself, and I learned so much from his class. I wasn't able to go to the first one, but I watched the video of it, And then I went to the second class and I thought, wow, this is something I need to bring back to OCBC. I need to bring it back to the Dharma School children because this is really relevant and important. And so I'm going to tell you what I learned. So the Jakata tales have been in existence for more than 2,500 years. There are 547 fables known as Jakata tales, and they are attributed to the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. They have served to both entertain and have imparted important Buddhist lessons for millennia. Millennia means thousands of years. So they've been around, all of these stories, 547 of them, and I didn't really know anything about them. And so I was so appreciative of Dr. Calabrese, who came and explained that to us. And how many of you actually attended his course? There were a lot of you there. So if I'm repeating anything that he told you, you're just getting it a second time. But I was really intrigued by what these stories are, and they are attributed to Shakyamuni Buddha. He supposedly did all of these stories. And so then the question is, they're called birth stories, and we want to know, why are they called birth stories? So I found a partial answer by looking at the title of this book that was written in 1907. What I did is I blew up the book title, book cover, so that you could read what it says. And it says, The Jakata, or Stories of the Buddha's Former Births. And this is coming from Cambridge University, which I think means in England, Cambridge University. So people have known about these for a really long time. And what they tell is about the Buddha's former births. In all of these stories, he says that he is in each of these stories. And so what usually happens, or the way that the story is presented, and what Dr. Calabrese explained, is that there's kind of three parts to these stories. First, there's, in the story, the Buddha is talking with his disciples, and they think about a topic or ask a question. And then he proceeds to give a story, and then that is the body of the tale. And then at the very end, the Buddha will summarize, and he'll tell his disciples, well, in that story, I was this character, you were that character, and he will kind of wrap it up in terms of, so there's three parts, and we have a lot of examples of Jakata tales. I went up to the library, and I found all of these books. These are all Jakata tale stories that you can check out from the library. So I would encourage you to look at some of these. There was also this book of the Jakata Tales of India, and this book is from 1940. That's a long time ago. So anyway, it's very interesting, and so I want to tie in, how the Jakata tales came to be and why the Buddha told these stories. And I think the reason is because of something called the Bodhisattva vow. So we, as Mahayana Buddhists, are part of this idea that we all aspire to become bodhisattvas. We want to become not only enlightened, but we aspire to be a bodhisattva. And a bodhisattva is someone who forgoes their own enlightenment to help all others. And so that's a really important part of what we are as Mahayana Buddhists. And so through the Jakata tales, the Buddha is talking about all the ways that he forewent becoming enlightened through these various stories. He takes on characters of different animals, of merchants, of all these different kinds of things in his 547 stories. And so if you read the Bodhisattva vow, it says, the many beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. Those are the three poisons. I vow to abandon them. Dharma gates are countless. I vow to wake to them. Buddha's way is unsurpassed. I vow to embody it fully. So I think what the way to think of the Jakata tales is the Shakyamuni Buddha, or any Buddha, is talking about how they want to help all beings become awakened. And so by taking on these other forms or other kind of characters or bodies that in each of the stories, they kind of help people to become more awake, learn a lesson. And so there's a lot of teaching that goes on through the Jakata tales. And one of the books that I looked at said that the Jakata tales emphasize things like the selflessness of compassion, the heart-opening warmth of kindness, the love that inspires responsibility, and the beauty of virtuous actions. So these are all kinds of things that come out of the story. I have to also warn you, though, some of the Jakata tales are a little bit difficult to read because some of them exhibit people that maybe are not kind. They exhibit some cases where people or things die, or animals sacrifice themselves. So if you are going to be reading or using some of the Jakata tales with your children, I would suggest you look them over beforehand to make sure that there's nothing disturbing depending on the age of your children. But they are very impactful, and they're expressed and told in a way that is very engaging. And so they've been used for thousands of years to teach important Buddhist lessons. And supposedly they all came from Shakyamuni Buddha. So he told a lot of stories, and somehow they all got written down. So now you get, the Dharma School children are getting a special treat. We're going to be watching an animated version of a Jakata tale. I tried to find one that was short. So for the next 4 minutes, you're going to learn about the rabbit's dream, and then we'll talk a little bit about the lesson that comes out of this story. Okay. Yeah? No? Okay, very, very simple story. I liked it because it was very clear to hear the characters. I watched some of the videos, and it's just rapid fire, joking, talking. This is very simple, very clear, and it's amazing what you can find on YouTube. There are lots of Jakata tales that you can access if that's something that you want to do at home with your children. So the key point of this story is to think about things carefully to find the truth. The lion said, "You should all decide never to believe in rumors." All the animals were ashamed of themselves. I think probably more embarrassed than ashamed, and decided that from then on they would never believe in anything blindly. And then that looks like a flying bookworm to me, whatever that creature is. And he or she said, "What you hear is not always the truth." And so this comes to a very important Buddhist lesson. We are always in search of truth. That's one of the things that we on our Buddhist path are always trying to find. And we rely on the truth by our Dharma friends, by coming to temple, by our parents, by the people that we respect and love. But you should never believe anything blindly. Just like those animals believed the rabbit, and they didn't question. They didn't ask, well, why do you think that? And why are we running? I think the lesson from this story is that you do have to make inquiries. You have to find the truth for yourself. And that's one thing that's very important about our Buddhist path. We are looking for a true path, a path that we can follow, that we know is true and real. But we have to come to that decision on our own. So Shinran Shonin, our founder, made that a responsibility for each of us, that we have to find this path, we have to find truth for ourselves. And even the Buddha, the historical Buddha on his deathbed, said, "Don't rely on me. You have to be," what he said, "be a lamp or light of wisdom unto yourself. You find wisdom by the things that you learn and hear and question and think about, so that we each find our own path of truth. And so, hopefully, that's what we will do. And that, I think, is the lesson for all of us, and hopefully for the Dharma School students. Okay. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Naman Butsu, Naman Butsu.